What terrified you as a kid that is not scary now? My grandmother's wallpaper at night. Every time I have a ghost dream, it is always in my grandma's house. And always in the room with the rose wallpaper. No idea why. This is creepy as heck and I like it. Catching fire. Do not get me wrong. I do not want to get set on fire at all. But the amount of stop, drop, and roll lessons I got in kindergarten made me think this was going to be a once-a-year thing at minimum. Wow. I hadn't even thought about how much they drilled this into us. Better safe than sorry, yeah. But man, it did kinda freak me out. Opening the shower curtain. I was sure there was some monster or murderer waiting for me behind it. I saw a funny tweet once saying something like not sure what my plan was ever gonna be after I flung open the shower curtain and did find a murderer there. Get murdered. No plan required. Sometimes my genius is. It's almost frightening. My bedroom as a kid was then converted into a bedroom laundry room and one wall was covered in a black mirror with gold paint flecks. Very 70s. But at night the shadows combined with the dark glass and paint made me imagine faces, figures, etc. It really scared me and I would line up my stuffed animals along my bed to protect me. I too was protected by a line of stuffed animals. The monsters didn't get me, so it must have worked. I did somewhat the same thing, but I made forts out of Jenga bricks, Legos, and toy soldiers to protect me in my sleep. Asking my grandpa a question. Man, was he intimidating to talk to as a kid. Now I love talking to him when I can. That is awesome that he is still around for you to talk to. Then, I wish I did talk to both of my grandpas more. Same. One gone. One's mind is gone. Bees and wasps. To be honest, I still prefer they don't buzz around me, but when I was little I remained a safe 5 meters away from them. A bee landed on me while I was outside today. I just stayed calm and didn't move much and he went along on his way. Meanwhile, wasps. I am still terrified of wasps. There was a huge abandoned windmill in our neighborhood that once pumped water from the river. At random. The windmill blades would start to turn at night. Never in the day. As kids that used to hang out nearby, it felt like the windmill was haunted as it came to life at dark hours. Probably a result of the metal cooling down after a day in the Sunday. I was assuming a metal axle which would expand from heat during the day, preventing rotation. Then at night when it cools and shrinks again, the release of tension causes it to spin. A straight row of fully grown trees. Grew up in the desert. Trees were around but not packed densely and were mostly palo verde trees or palm trees. But there was a row of trees that looked like what I consider most would imagine typical trees look like. And that one row of trees was also in close proximity to a large prison. My brother told me that that's where Mr. Bulgari lived and where the escaped murderers would hide when they break out of prison. Oh yeah. Did I mention we had a guy break out of prison and murder the town librarian when I was a kid? So, yeah. Tree lines. Edited to add. In my haste last night I did not go and fact check my childhood memories. I had conflated escaped inmates and the librarian murder into the same story. It is not. What I was confused about was the memory of my dad picking me up on my walk home from school. Normally I would walk past the library because he knew that a search for the murderer of the librarian was ongoing. And there were a few times we locked down the school and the rumor mill was that there was a prisoner escape. I have no idea on how I could verify that or not. Although, there have been prisons that have taken correctional officers as hostages and a librarian at the prison as a hostage and attempts to escape. That worms would come out of my shower head. A snake would come out of the toilet and bite me while I was sitting on it. Especially in the middle of the night. I still check. I am 32. I still check behind the shower curtain anytime I am in a bathroom. My own. A friend's house. Family's. A hotel. Does not matter. The one time I don't check is the one time an axe murderer will be hiding there and I am not putting myself at risk to pretend I'm brave enough to pee without checking first. The Beast from the Sandlot. Freaked me out back then. But now that I can see how low budget the dog looks, still an amazing movie by the way, I find it a bit less scary. Once I realized the kids were scared of a dog. I was so confused. As soon as I could hop fences, I was jumping into the yards to play with dogs. I have no idea how I am alive. The video for Michael Jackson's Thriller. The very last scene where it appeared to be just a dream and Michael is looking normal. But then he turns around and stares at you with the werewolf eyes. That terrified me. And that laugh. My God, that laugh. Thunderstorms. I used to hide under the covers and could only run from the room between flashes. Now I will sit at the window and watch. I love a good thunderstorm now. All it took was a very weird 9-ish-year-old me to stand at the window during a big storm and yell things like, "Is that all you have got?" Yeah. Kinda like Lieutenant Dan, but before I ever saw Forrest Gump. When I was a teenager I was home alone a lot. So when it would storm I did run over to the neighbors. However, they never let anyone in their house, so he'd stand outside in the storm with me. So I was not alone. Stay in a house where I'm dry alone. Or stand out in it. Yeah, I was not the smartest kid sometimes. The little door guys from the movie 9 scared me when I was like 6. Love that movie. Jesus randomly showing up during dinner. I thought he'd use the door. Clearly I was raised to fear the wrath of God. I have a recurring dream showing the second coming and I am not ready. Scares the crap out of me. Most likely to me falling out of my religion. I get those sometimes. Usually after the rapture and I am stuck on earth. Church really messed me up. Flushing the toilet. Did you watch those bizarre commercials with a talking toilet in the early 90s that scared you as a kid too? You know, I watched Stephen King's It and I realize all pipes go to the same place, and if he could come out of the drain and the shower, then he can also come out of the toilet. That is legitimate too. Looking at mirrors in the night. Thought they would become haunted in the dark. I am 21 and I am still scared to look in a mirror at night. I do not want to know what is behind me in the dark. Apparently if you stare at a mirror in the dark long enough you start hallucinating, your face contorting. I'll take your word for it. The dark. Just kidding, I am still a little bitch. I had to sleep with a nightlight or hall light or TV on my whole life. Then I just stopped. And now it can never be dark enough. I love hotels. Do same. I don't sleep near as well if I don't have absolute darkness. AC turned down while I low and my fan 4 feet from my face, lol. I love hotels as well. One of my favorite things to do. Sometimes I'll get a room in my own town just to sleep in one for a night or two. Good times. The movie Jeepers Creepers. Wait till you see the second one. That bus scene kinda scared the poop out of me as a 12-year-old. The bus scene. The whole movie was practically on the bus. I bet it was the decapitation scene. Large Marge. Large Marge sent me. Opening a can of Pillsbury biscuits. Just waiting for that pop. After unraveling the paper. Spooky. The pop is what keeps us humble. I was always afraid of baby bell cheese. Not sure why. But time over it now that I'm older. A few months ago I bought some Babybel at a gas station in a tiny town while on a road trip. It tasted off and I noticed that it expired in 2018. I am now afraid of Babybel. Maybe you inherited his fear. Maybe fear never really dies. It just transfers on to the next victim. My ever-growing apathy towards life took out most fears. Foot hanging off the bed and monsters can get me. Good. I have work in the morning. I love hanging my feet off the bed now. I wonder if it's because I'd rather die than wake up. Running up the basement stairs after turning off the light. JK, that poop is still terrifying. I am 35 and I still do this. If someone says they do not, I'm pretty sure they are lying. Nah. Just broken spirit. I am the only monster in this house. Hades from Hercules. Now I like him better than any other villain. Yes, Hades is the best villain, chef's kiss. Thistles and cacti. Basically any plant that had nasty spikes. Whenever I did walk in a grass field and see a tiny thistle plant near my foot, I would stop dead in my tracks and call for help. Nowadays, I still get uneased at the thought of falling onto those things. Especially the giant thistles. I fell into a gorse bush once. It took me nearly a month to get all of the spikes and splinters out. They did not hurt. and were not infected or anything. But they were there. Being spanked. It has gone from being a punishment to being a reward. Same as naps. Staying home. Not having friends over. Going to bed early. As a kid, I was somehow able to watch the first 2 Jurassic Park movies so much that I knew the script off by heart by age 5, but an episode of Thomas the Tank Engine scared the poop out of me. This was about the time the show started to move away from adapting Audrey's stories and started writing their own scripts. As part of this, they decided to make a bunch of spooky episodes. I was fine with all of them except one about a big boulder. From memory, the gist of the story is they open a new quarry right at the spot a gigantic boulder sits on top of a cliff. One of the engines, Rusty, hates the place cause it feels as if the boulder is watching him. Eventually, they destabilize the cliff enough that the boulder drops onto the tracks and you have a series of Indiana Jones-style chases. So what exactly was so scary about it? Simple really, the boulder had a face. Now I know you were wondering. But do not all the trains have faces? Yeah, but their faces are distinct from the rest of them to the point you can tell they're meant to have faces. The thing with the boulder is that it did not consistently have a face. It only has a face at a couple of points in the episode that randomly appears. So it is a normal rock. And then bam, it is a rock with a very angry face. I think it was the inconsistency of whether the rock was sentient or not that freaked young me out. After confessing this to a friend as an adult, I ended up finding the episode on YouTube link and just laughing at how ridiculous it was being scared of it. The greatest irony of all, I went from being terrified of a rock to getting a degree in geology. The Bermuda Triangle. I have encountered it a lot less than I thought I would have. On the other hand, I've encountered it and not disappeared a lot more than I would have thought. Maybe you did disappear, and just don't know it. They do say it is a portal to another dimension. Escalators. Many thanks to Rescue 911 for convincing me I was going to get eaten by one if my shoe was untied. I was sucked into an escalator for that exact reason. I was also terrified of strangers and was pulled out by a giant man whom I did not know. My parents did not notice at first because they were too busy arguing. A vacation. Gorillas. That SpongeBob episode as a kid scarred me. I would have to close my eyes once that part came on and my brother had to tell me when it was over. My uncle, knowing I was scared of it, told me killer gorillas lived in the dark part of the basement. So every time I went down there for something, I'd sprint full speed back up the stairs. My sister told me gorillas lived behind the plumbing access panel in the hall closet. So I feel your pain. Nothing. Everything is 1,000,000 times scarier now than it was when I was a kid. Yeah. And if you are single, do not even get me started. I am terrified to live alone because I am not sure who will guard my house from intruders. Probably my gun and a big German shepherd. I recommend an armored bear. Sun death. Also, I cried when I saw a black woman for the first time. My husband's cousin saw a black man for the first time whilst in a store. He was maybe 6'8", yo. He yelled, "Look, Mom!" A Michael Jackson. At the top of his lungs. Not Michael Jackson. A Michael Jackson. We still tease him about it. His mom was of course mortified. The area was not very diverse in the 80s. It is very weird that some people were raised with a black Michael Jackson, and some people such as myself were not. Seeing a scary thumbnail on a YouTube video and randomly think of it throughout the day. The thumbnail of Source's wife things creepy. Creeped me out. So I guess it did its job. Yes, that photo was terrifying. Thanks to Goosebumps. I was afraid of loofahs, sponges, and those little poof ball things you wash off with. I did not get over this stupid fear into adulthood after I got married. This one is completely random. The song, One Way or Another, scared me so badly me as a child. I would cover my ears when it played. My big sister worked at the skating rink and would do double duty babysitting me while she worked. They played that song exactly one time while we were there. I freaked out. It was dark in there and the song was loud and coming from everywhere. They had this little coin-operated cartoon booth, sort of like a photo booth. Get in, draw the curtain. But instead of a camera, there is a television. You put in a quarter and it plays a random cartoon. I hid in there crying and kicking anyone who tried to check on me with roller skate clad feet. They turned the music off completely so that my sister could get me out of the booth. My sister made sure that they never played it while I was there again. Another time we were watching the Muppet Show and there was a pretty blonde woman hosting. Then this bitch starts singing One Way with a bunch of fucking monsters. I jumped up and ran to my room and hid in my closet. I could not trust my favorite TV shows anymore either. I have no idea why I was so afraid of that song, but it genuinely terrified me. I like it fine now. That is some straight up Stephen King vibes. I can picture the dark skating ring, maybe some disco lights. Sound coming from everywhere. Feeling panicked and chased. Then when life gets back to normal, the song starts popping up in unexpected places like it is haunting you.